Broadcasting on our Facebook fan page, The African History Network, and our YouTube channel, Michael Imhotep. So welcome to those watching us on social media. It is Sunday, July 10th, 2022, and we are live. It's good to be back live doing the African History Network show after a few weeks off. Juneteenth was huge for me. I spoke at 3 different locations. I did media interviews. I was on the Tammy Mack Late Show on the Fox Soul TV network. Probably next week, they sent me the video of the show. Probably next week, I'll share some of that with you. On today's show, towards the end of the show, I'm going to share an excerpt of the presentation I did out of Inkster, Michigan that blew people away. Okay, so on today's show, once again, we'll talk about the new development in the Emmett Till Code case, the arrest warrant that we told you about a few weeks ago. A few weeks ago, it was about maybe 2 or 3 months ago, that we found out this arrest warrant actually existed but was never executed. Okay, 1955 arrest warrant for Carolyn Bryant Donham. It has been found. Okay, and now you have activists who and Emmett Till's family members. They want this arrest warrant executed. We're going to talk about the Woman King movie that debuted September 6, 2022, starring Viola Davis. This deals with the African female warriors of Dahomey, the Ahosi or the Mino. And I teach about them in the online class that I teach on Saturdays, Ancient Kemet, the Moors, and the Ma'afa, Understanding the Transatlantic Slave Trade, what they didn't teach you in school. And one of the reasons why I teach about them is because the African female warriors that we see depicted in the film Black Panther, the Dora Milaje. The Dora Milaje means the adored ones. The female warriors from Dahomey were the real life inspiration for the Dora Milaje that we see in Black Panther and in the Black Panther comic book. This from. Okay, so all of this is connected. There was an article that I posted on our Facebook fan page, The African History Network, today from TheDirect.com that deals with Black Panther 2 that comes out in November. Name of this article, Black Panther 2 will reportedly make big waves this month. Okay, check out that article also. And we're coming up here on a break. Call-in numbers 313-778-7600, 313-778-7600 is the call-in number. If you have a question or comment, we are live. It is Sunday, July 10th, 2022, the African History Network show. You can give us a call. We know Joe Biden did an executive order to deal with the Supreme Court overturning Roe versus Wade. We'll talk about that as well. I was on Roland Martin Unfiltered on Friday, and I'm going to share a segment with you dealing with that. And we have a lot more for you on today's show. We're coming up on a break. Listen to the African History Network show. I'm Michael Imhotep. We'll be back in a few minutes. Welcome back to the African History Network show right here on 910 AM Superstation, the Future Radio. I'm your host, Michael Imhotep. It is Sunday, July 10th, 2022, and we are live. Hope everybody's doing well. Visit our new website, TheAFricanHistoryNetwork.com, TheAFricanHistoryNetwork.com. I spent a lot of time building a new website. We're making some updates as well. We're about to get to the story dealing with Emmett Till as well and updating the story. But we have a 72-hour weekend sale going on. It's running through, actually, it's going to run till Tuesday, July 12th. You get 30% off of orders of $100 or more for DVD lectures and digital downloads from lectures, my lectures, and a few others. At TheAfricanHistoryNetwork.com. Use pro HN30 off July. It's right at the right on our homepage. It excludes online classes, and we have a special edition of my Saturday class. We're going to do it Tuesday, July 12th, 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. Ancient Kemet, Moors, and the Ma'afa, Understanding the Transatlantic Slave Trade, what they didn't teach you in school. We have a special edition of that coming up Tuesday. You can still register for that class. It's on sale, $60. We'll give you some more information about that as well. All right, now on the African History Network show, we focus on educating, empowering, and inspiring people of African descent throughout the diaspora and around the world, because right now it's corrects wrong behavior. What you do for yourself, what you do to yourself, and what you allow other people to do to you and get away with is based upon what you think about yourself. What you think about yourself is based upon what you have been taught about yourself. What you've been taught about yourself is based upon everything you've read, heard, and seen about yourself. So when you control the radius of a man's thoughts, you can control the circumference of his or her actions, because the mind can't do or teach what it doesn't know. Now, we deal with a number of different topics here on the African History Network show. We deal with current events in history and politics, education, economic empowerment, entrepreneurship, relationships, love, sex, health issues, and much, much more. Sign up for our email newsletter. Text the word Kemet, K-E-M-E-T, to 22828. To sign up for our email newsletter, text the word Kemet, K-E-M-E-T, to 22828 to sign up for our email newsletter. Also visit our new website, TheAHNShow.com, TheAHNShow.com, to sign up for the email newsletter there as well. Okay, I want to jump into this first story here. And this is an update to a story that we did a few months ago. All right. And this is dealing with the cold case of Emmett Till, the murder of Emmett Till. Now, we know that the Department of Justice, I think it was late 2021, the Department of Justice closed out an investigation that they opened because of allegations made by Professor Timothy Tyson in his book that came out in 2017, The Blood of Emmett Till. Okay. And we talked about that here on this show as well. And we dealt with the holes in his argument in saying that Carolyn Bryant Donham recanted her testimony, etc. We'll get to that in just a minute. But this article here from NBC News, Emmett Till's family again calls for woman's arrest after the discovery of a 1955 warrant. Okay. And we're going to the phone lines in just a minute. So Norm, hold the line. Again, the calling number is 313-778-7600, 337-778-7600 is the calling number if you have a question or comment. Now, the document dated August 29th, 1955, which was the day after Emmett Till was murdered. He was murdered August 28th, 1955. The document dated August 29th, 1955 was found last month, June 2022, inside a box in the basement of a Mississippi courthouse. Now, here's a picture of Carolyn Bryant Donham on the left with Juanita Millam, the wives of Roy Bryant and J.W. Millam, the two men that murdered Emmett Till. We know they were found not guilty in a courtroom. They had an all-white jury, but a few months after the trial, they admitted to killing Emmett Till in an interview for Look magazine, and they were paid $4,000 for the interview. So here the two women are. They were in the offices of their husband's attorneys, their husband's lawyer in Sumner, Mississippi, September 30th, 1955. Okay, the men were later acquitted in the kidnapping and the murder of Emmett Till. Now, one of the things that makes this case complicated, as I've said before, is that all the witnesses are dead. Okay, so when you go to court, where your witnesses. This article is from July 7th, 2022. The family of Emmett Till urged authorities Thursday to move on a recently discovered unserved warrant from 1955 that charges a white woman in the black teenager's murder and kidnapping. Okay, and this arrest warrant was for kidnapping. Okay, this arrest warrant was for kidnapping. Now, the arrest warrant was never served because the authority said, well, she has two young children and they didn't want to bother her. Okay, Mamie Till's son, Emmett, was dead. They didn't want to bother this white woman. Now, Emmett Till's cousin, Priscilla Sterling, pressed District Attorney W. Dwayne Richardson, whose office would handle a potential prosecution, to issue the warrant, the arrest warrant for Carolyn Bryant Donham, okay, the wife of Roy Bryant. Now, Carolyn Bryant Donham, identified as Miss Roy Bryant in the warrant, unearthed last month, June 2022, in the basement of the LaFleur County Courthouse, was married to one of the two white men tried and acquitted just weeks after Emmett Till was abducted from a relative's home, killed, and dumped in the Tallahatchie River. Now, Sterling said, Priscilla Sterling said, quote, "The family wants Carolyn Bryant to face justice. The family wants Carolyn Bryant to face justice." She told this to Report on Thursday, July 7th, 2022. "We want her to at least come here and defend herself," end quote. Now, the district attorney did not immediately respond to a request for comment. LaFleur County Sheriff Ricky Banks was not immediately available for comment, but he told the Associated Press last month that he had never before heard of the arrest warrant. Okay, and it was basically a few months ago that we heard about the arrest warrant for the first time. We didn't know that there was an arrest warrant for kidnapping that had been issued for Carolyn Bryant Donham in 1955. Sheriff Banks, the Florida County Sheriff Ricky Banks, said, "I quote, I will see if I can get a copy of the warrant and get with the DA and get their opinion on it." Sheriff Banks said, according to the Associated. The warrant is dated August 29th, 1955. August 29th, 1955, the day after Emmett Till was lynched. And the arrest warrant was inside a file folder that had been placed in a box, said Circuit Clerk Elmus Stockstill, ELMUS, Stockstill, who certified the document as genuine. Now, although the two men, J.W. Millam and Roy Bryant, were acquitted by an all-white jury, they deliberated for something like 45 minutes, something like that. They later admitted to killing Emmett Till in an interview in Look magazine. Now, if you watch Eyes on the Prize, and I have the Eyes on the Prize on DVD, I bought the box set from Amazon. If you Eyes on the Prize starts with the kidnapping and murder of Emmett Till, and they talk about the trial, and you have the brother from the Amsterdam News. You had Congressman Charles Diggs from Michigan, African-American Congressman from Charles Diggs from Michigan. They go down to Mississippi for the trial, and African-American news media across the country are there. It was a segregated courtroom. It was like going back in time. It was a segregated courtroom, and they give a firsthand account of what it was like in this courtroom in Mississippi, and hearing this trial and seeing an all-white jury and seeing African-Americans sitting on one side of the courtroom, white people sitting on the other side, and the jury deliberating for something like less than an hour, something like 45 minutes, coming back with a not guilty verdict. And everybody knew that these two white men killed Emmett Till. Everybody in Mississippi knew that these were the two white men who killed Emmett Till. Now, although the two men, J.W. Millam and Roy Bryant, were acquitted, they later admitted to killing Emmett Till in a magazine. It was Look magazine. They were paid $4,000 for their interview. But because of double jeopardy, they could not be tried again for the same crime. They admitted to killing him. Okay. And Roy Bryant said something to the effect that he said that they were just trying to scare him. They didn't plan to kill him. But then Emmett Till said something, and he said he looked at Emmett Till and said, "Boy, you're never going to see your mother again." Something to that effect. Now, last year, 2021, a federal investigation that re-examined the murder ended after the Justice Department failed to find proof that Carolyn Bryant Donham had lied. Now, we broke this down extensively here on this show. And not only that, I walked you through the 16-page report from the Department of Justice. I ain't deal with no he said, she said. When you actually read the 16-page report from the Department of Justice, you see why they couldn't against her. Number one, she maintained that she did not recant her testimony. Two, her daughter-in-law also was interviewed. Her daughter-in-law said she never recanted her testimony. Her daughter-in-law was present for the two interviews that Professor Timothy Tyson did with Carolyn Bryant Donham in 2008. And the question I have, the first question that back in 2017, when the story broke that, oh, she recanted her testimony. Okay, when you go and read through those articles and look for the evidence, There's no evidence she recanted her testimony. And the question I have is, if Professor Timothy Tyson interviewed Carolyn Bryant Donham in 2008 twice, and she recanted her testimony, why did you wait to 2017 to say something about it about a month before your book called The Blood of Emmett Till was coming out? If you had smoking gun evidence that she recanted her testimony, why did you not go to the authorities? Why did you wait 9 years to say something? We're going to deal with this on the other side of the break. Proper documentation ends all conversation. We go through and break this stuff down and provide the evidence for you. You listen to the African History Network show right here on 910 AM, the Superstation, the Future Radio. I'm Michael Imhotep. 313-778-7600. 313-778-7600 is the call-in number if you have a question or comment. We'll be back in a few minutes.
The work that I do is larger than the fashion industry. It's larger than the art world. And I believe that I was born to bring newness into this world. I'm Kaima McIntyre. I'm 24 years old and I'm an artist. I create everything from paintings to jewelry design, metaphysical jewelry to be specific, and fashion design. The only reason why my prom dress went viral is because people needed it. Within a few days of going viral, Notori Naughton reached out to me and she's like, I saw your dress, can you make me a dress? I was equally as shocked to be asked by a celebrity to design their dress at the age of 17. That's just one person, and the list just continues to go on, to Janet Jackson, to Tyra Banks. It really hits home. That means that the discussion is happening on the grounds in real time.
IDO Network International, in collaboration with STL Black Woman, DACA, and ACTA, present the Royal Pilgrimage to the Americas, August 24th through the 28th. The African kings and queens are coming to you for business, networking, and sharing of Pan-African ideals. The venue will be the illustrious En Garde Arts Hotel in St. Louis, Missouri. A royal cultural experience and exhibitions, trade and investment opportunities in Africa, the Caribbean, and the Americas. A Royal Pan-African Summit hosting keynote speakers, and a red carpet banquet. Come and witness an African royal coronation ceremony. Register at www.idonetwork.org to book your ticket to wine and dine with African royalty. Vendor opportunities available. Get face-to-face with the royals who own the land and resources for business. Contact DACA for deal room information at 602-730-4572.
Welcome back to the African History Network show right here on 910 AM, the Superstation, the Future Radio. I'm your host, Brother Michael Imhotep. It is Sunday, July 10th, 2022. We are here live. You can give us a call, 313-778-7600. 313-778-7600 is the call number if you have a question or comment. A few weeks since we've been on live, and we know last weekend the radio station was shut down. It's 4th of July weekend, or what we call the 4th of July as well. I was at a great event that Baba Kafense Chike and Sister Aaron and those the group in the tradition they did over at the Shrine of the Black Madonna. We have the information on our website, TheAHNShow.com. But this was dealing with an alternative, an African-centered alternative to the 4th of July. Okay, it's an African-centered alternative to the 4th of July. And I was there for that, and I was a vendor there as well. So that was a great event. And they read excerpts of Frederick Douglass' speech, "What to the Negro is the 4th of July." Okay. So, I was all over the place for Juneteenth as well. All right. I want to go, before we go any further, I want to go to the phone lines. Let's go to Norm, who's been holding. Hey, Norm, welcome to the African History Network show. Tell us where you're calling from, Norm. Thanks for holding.
I'm calling from Tampa.
You calling from? Okay, speak up a little bit. Your voice is a little muffled, Norm.
Yeah, and my voice is a little muffled. You said?
Yeah, it's a little muffled. Okay, you said you're calling from Tampa, Florida.
It's muffled. Right.
Okay.
And hold on there.
Okay, are you on a Norm? Are you on a Bluetooth earpiece? Okay, go ahead and talk. Go ahead and talk.
Yeah, I just took it off.
Okay, yeah. That works better.
That
That sounds
better
better.
now?
Yeah, go ahead.
All right. Well, I'm calling them, but here's the thing, man. I wanted to ask about the Atlantic slave trade.
Transatlantic slave
Hello?
trade. Yes.
Yeah, the Atlantic. Yeah, but there's a lot of
Okay, Norma, you there? You cut out for a minute.
come across. Okay, had you come? Can you hear me?
Yeah, you cut out for a minute. You said you want to ask about it. You said you want to ask about the transatlantic slave trade, and then you cut out for a minute. Go ahead and ask your question.
Yeah, but it deals with more than the transatlantic. There was a trans-Indian Ocean slave trade too.
Yeah, dealing with the Portuguese and the Arabs.
Information. But you heard?
Dealing with the Portuguese and the Arabs enslaving African people.
Right, and then there's a place out in the Indian Ocean called Jawa Island, where you find people who were of African descent who live there today, and it's an island that the mining government wants to get rid of them.
The Jawa, yeah. So you have the Centralese there. Yeah. So if you read The Destruction of Black Civilization by Dr. Chancellor Williams, because the Arabs started enslaving African people going back to about the 8th century AD, and the Arabs were enslaving African people hundreds of years before Europeans started the transatlantic slave trade.
Yeah, but when you say Arabs, the Arabs there were black people too. I mean, they
were black Arabs, but they were still classified as Arabs because Arab is not a race. Arab is a culture.
Right.
So there was a So there was a just a second. Let me ask you a question. Just a second. Let me ask you a question because this is only a 2-hour show and I got a lot of information to get to. If you read The Destruction of Black Civilization by Dr. Chancellor Williams, he gets into this. When the Arabs conquer Kemet, Egypt, about 642 AD. Okay, and the Arabs are going to engage in a slave trade of African people centuries before what we call the transatlantic slave trade starts in 1441 with the Portuguese going into Mauritania. The Arabs are doing this, and then you're going to have what you call the Indian Ocean slave trade. You're going to have the Arabs working with the Portuguese enslaving Africans also. That portion of that slave trade starts hundreds of years later once the Portuguese get involved in the transatlantic slave trade. The Portuguese are the first ones involved in the transatlantic slave trade. The Spanish are going to be right behind them because Spain and Portugal are right next to each other. But that this is going to take place after, because what sets up the transatlantic slave trade is going to be the Africans known as the Moors taking these teachings from the Nile Valley region of Africa into Europe, bringing Europe out of the Dark Ages, and everything we taught them came back to kick us in the behind. Now you also have a slave trade of Muslims enslaving Christians, including white Christians as well. And you had Muslims of different ethnic groups and races, including some of the Moors, engaged in that slave trade also. Go ahead, and then I got to get to I got to go back to Emmett Till.
Okay. The other thing too I wanted to mention to you is that there is a tremendous crisis happening in black healthcare, where black doctors are under attack and stuff, and being arrested disproportionately and being kicked off of Medicare and those sort of things. And you need to read about this, because there was a big Supreme Court decision, just as a 9-zip decision that discussed this, where, particularly black doctors were practicing medicine and they're being called drug dealers and being attacked by the Drug Enforcement Agency. And I've worked closely with that. If you read my blog, you are within the norms.com. You will see that. And one of the fraternity, I know Brother Roland Martin is a member of the Alpha Phi Alpha fraternity. And a lot of Alpha Phi Alpha brothers, very ambitious, have been attacked like this. Just read my blog. You are within
What's the name of your blog? What's the name of your blog, Norm? What's the name of your blog?
It's called YOUAR within the norms.com. And we've been trying to get to Brother Roland about this. This is major stuff where brothers like who like surgeons, a guy named Greg Belcher, guys like just in Detroit. There was a case last week where a brother named David Lewis was found not guilty. He and a group of doctors were found not guilty in Detroit federal court, and he was a member of Alpha Phi Alpha fraternity, and and they tried to say they stole $500 million, and the whole thing was a fraudulent deception in order to undermine black health.
All right, give us the name of your blog one more time, so people give us the name of your blog one more time, so people can go check it out.
YOUARE within the norms.com, and is read all over the world.
Okay.
And the black doctors, a group of black doctors, are working together to put and expose the deception by our Department of Justice, the so-called Department of Injustice, and DEA, particularly DEA, the criminal organization of the United States.
I got it, Norm. Norm, we got to go. Thanks for calling. Call back next Sunday, Norm. There's only a 2-hour show. Thanks for calling. Okay. Thanks for calling, Norm. All right. I want to get back to this Emmett Till story because we're up against a break again. Okay, and when we come back from the break, I want you to hear this segment from the readout Joanne Reed, because Joy interviewed a relative of Emmett Till about this new development. Although the two men, J.W. Millam and Roy Bryant, were acquitted, they later admitted to killing Emmett Till in an interview with Look magazine. Last year in 2021, a federal investigation that re-examined the murder ended after the Justice Department failed to find proof that Carolyn Bryant Donham had lied. Now, we know Emmett Till was 14 years old. He was from Chicago. He's visiting his family in Money, Mississippi, when he entered the store in Money, Mississippi, where Carolyn Bryant Donham, then 21 years old, was working. She accused Emmett Till of making improper advances after he whistled at her, an act considered at the time to be defiance of the South's racist social codes, their segregation. Now, evidence indicates a woman, possibly Carolyn Bryant Donham, identified Emmett Till to the men who later killed him. Now, the problem is you have to prove this in court. You can't go into court and said the witch lied. That's not evidence. You have to prove this in court. Problem is all the witnesses are dead. So how do you prove this? This is the challenge with taking her to court. Now, her arrest warrant was publicized at the time, 1955, but was never served because LaFleur County Sheriff told reporters, the LaFleur County Sheriff at the time in 1955 told reporters he did not want to bother Carolyn Bryant Donham because she had 2 young children. Okay, because she had 2 young children. Imagine that. He didn't want to bother her because she had 2 young children. But Emmett Till is dead. Okay, she had 2 young children to care for. All right, now Carolyn Bryant Donham, who is now in her 80s and was recently living in North Carolina, has not commented publicly on the discovery of the warrant. She could not be reached on Tuesday, July 7th, when this article came out, at phone numbers listed for her. Emmett Till's murder shocked the nation and acted as a catalyst for the civil rights movement. And it really helped galvanize the civil rights movement. The NAACP and Medgar Evers helped to gather witnesses to testify at the trial. We know that also there's a good article. So the class that I teach on Sundays, from the Civil War to the Civil Rights Movement and Black Power, 1865 to 1968, we get deep into this and deal with how the murder of Emmett Till helped to galvanize the civil rights, the modern day civil. We know that there was a meeting that Rosa Parks attended where Dr. T.R.M. Howard was speaking, and this was about the murder of Emmett Till. This was a few days before, I think it was a few days before she refused to give up her seat, December 1st, 1955, on that Cleveland Avenue bus. We know this is going to launch the Montgomery bus boycott and what's known as the modern day civil rights movement. Okay. There's a good article. There's a good article from history.com, the official website of the History Channel, called "How Emmett Till's Murder Galvanized the Civil Rights Movement." How Emmett Till's murder galvanized the Civil Rights Movement. This is from February 3rd, 2017. You listen to the African History Network show. I'm Michael Imhotep. We'll be back in a few minutes. iRedify is a Black-owned digital platform that showcases Black and Brown cultures and people. The books on the platform are written by African-American authors, Afro-Caribbean authors, African authors, and so much more. Kids 14 and under can read ebooks, listen to audiobooks, and complete learning activities. Kids can even write in the books digitally. Get unlimited access to everything on the platform for only $8.99 a month at iRedify.com. Sign up for your membership today.
What does self-care mean to you? To us, it's an opportunity to reconnect with nature. A chance to create something remarkable. At Sage and Elm Apothecary, our handcrafted skincare and household products immerse you in Earth's sweetest nectar, connecting you to nature in a way you never imagined. See for yourself and visit us at sageandelmapothecary.com.
Welcome back to the African History Network show right here on 910 a.m. the Superstation, the Future Radio. I'm your host, Brother Michael Imhotep. It is Sunday, July 10th, 2022, and we are live. Calling numbers 313-778-7600. 313-778-7600 is the calling number if you have a question or comment. I know it's been a few weeks since we've been on live, so you can give us a call. If you call in, please keep your comment short or question short, because I have a lot of information to get through. All right. Okay. Also, visit our new website, TheAHNShow.com, TheAHNShow.com. We're going back to the Emmett Till story, the update in the cold case of Emmett Till's murder. Going back to that in just a minute. We're going to this clip here from the Readout with Joanne Reed as well. She interviewed a relative of Emmett Till. Our new website, TheAHNShow.com. You can support the African History Network through PayPal, paypal.me/TheAHN Show, Cash App, $, TheAHN Show. This helps us keep doing the research, stay on the air, keep broadcasting, pay some of the bills, etc. This is our Cash App account, $TheAHN Show, SHOW. These other ones, and there are a few other ones that are not shown here, are fake African History Network Cash App accounts. I've already launched an investigation. I've already had Cash App launch investigation. I'm trying to get these fake ones shut down because they've been stealing money from us. We have a 72-hour sale going on until Tuesday, July 12th. Get 30% off orders of $100 or more, excluding online courses. So my lectures and some others, DVD and digital downloads at our new website, TheAfricanHistory.com. Okay, we have the information there. You can also register for the online history classes I teach normally on Saturdays and Sundays. Now we have two special sessions. One is going to Tuesday, July 12th, 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. of Ancient Kemet, the Moors, and the Ma'afa, Understanding the Transatlantic Slave Trade, what they didn't teach you in school, 10-week online class. And then on Wednesday, July 13th, 7 p.m. to 9 p.m., a special session from the Civil War to the Civil Rights Movement and Black Power, 1865 to 1968. Those classes are on sale, $60 each, regularly $130. We have a bundle pack where you can register for both classes for $100. We do the sessions live. All the sessions are archived and recorded. As soon as you register, you can go back and watch the classes like we did the past few weeks, and you can join us in class for the next classes Tuesday and Wednesday. Okay, I want to go back to the story here, and I sent you that clip, Jalen, so we want to go to that here in just a minute. Okay, if we go back to this article here from NBC News, there's a good piece here. This one is this is dealing with the arrest warrant that was found. Okay, the arrest warrant that was found, that was issued August 29th, 1955. Okay. So Emmett Till's murder shocked the nation and acted as a catalyst for the civil rights movement. His mother, Mamie Till Mobley, insisted on an open casket to show the brutality of his killing, and thousands attended his funeral. We know that Jet Magazine showed those images, and it shocked the world also. Now, Malik Shabazz, a lawyer who, not Minister Malik Shabazz here in Detroit, but this is Malik Shabazz, a lawyer who appeared with the Emmett Till family Thursday, said the effort to bring Carolyn Bryant Donham to justice was worth pursuing despite Dunham's age. She's in her 80s. He said Emmett Till never got to make it to 87. Emmett Till never had a day where he could go to a nursing home or whatever, because his life was taken. So check out this article here from NBC News, and there were other articles dealing with this as well. We posted about this on our Facebook fan page, The African History Network. It got thousands of likes and hundreds of comments. Emmett Till's family again calls for a woman's arrest after the discovery of a 1955 warrant. Okay, now I want to go to this clip here. This is from the Readout with Joanne Reed. This is from June 30th, is this the right one? June 30th, 2022. Carolyn Bryant must be indicted for role in murder, kidnapping of Emmett Till, his cousin says. Joanne Reed interviewed Emmett Till's cousin, and trying to get her name here. Okay, well, we'll hear it in the I was trying to see if they listed her name here, but okay, let's go to this clip, Jalen.
It has been nearly 67 years since Emmett Till was abducted, tortured, and lynched in Mississippi after the 14-year-old black boy from Chicago who was visiting family in Mississippi was accused of making advances at a white woman. In an amazing discovery last week, a team searching a Mississippi courthouse basement for evidence in the case uncovered an unserved 1955 arrest warrant charging that same woman for Till's kidnapping. Included in that team were relatives of Till. They're now calling for the woman, Carolyn Bryant Donham, now in her 80s, to be arrested. Donham was married to one of the two white men who were tried and acquitted for Till's brutal murder, shockingly, by an all-white jury. Maybe not so shockingly given this country's history. They later confessed to the killing. The arrest warrant against Donham was publicized at the time. But get this, the sheriff told reporters that he did not want to, quote, bother Ms. Bryant, since she had two young children to care for. American history. With me now is Deborah Watts, Emmett Till's cousin and co-founder of the Emmett Till Legacy Foundation. She was part of the team that discovered the warrant. Thank you so much for being here, Ms. Watts. I want to take you back to that discovery. What were you all looking for in that courthouse, and how did you come upon this incredible document?
Well, I'll just tell you, it was a team of about 5 of us. It was the second opportunity to search. There was a team that went towards the end of March after we had a meeting with the Department of Justice, the FBI investigator, and the DA Richardson. And so at that time, they told us there was nothing to do. And we knew all along that this warrant for Carolyn Bryant's arrest was never served. Keith Beauchamp, who is an award-winning filmmaker and was responsible for the investigation that reopened the case in 2004, made sure that we understood that. And so a collective group of us went to the courthouse in LaFleur County, Greenwood, Mississippi, to search for that warrant. And we knew that one bit of evidence had never been served, and we wanted to find it amongst other things that we thought might be there. But we did find it, and we are hoping that this leads to the at least the execution of the warrant to Carolyn Bryant Donham, charging her in the kidnapping and murder of Emmett Lewis Till, because she's culpable in that, without malice, without hate, or without vengeance.
Okay, we're going to pause it right there. We're going to pick this up on the other side of the break. That was Deborah Watts, a cousin of Emmett Till. We're going to give you some more information on this. And also, I want to just walk you briefly through the 16-page report from the Department of Justice. And we did this when they released the report late last year. And you see why they could not bring charges. Okay, they investigated all this stuff floating around in media. Oh, she recanted the testament, all this stuff. They investigated all that and keep coming up with zeros, keep coming up with nothing. You listen to the African History Network show. I'm Michael Imhotep. We'll be back in a few minutes.
What does self-care mean to you? To us, it's an opportunity to reconnect with nature. A chance to create something remarkable. At Sage and Elm Apothecary, our handcrafted skincare and household products immerse you in Earth's sweetest nectar, connecting you to nature in a way you never imagined. See for yourself and visit us at sageandelmapothecary.com.
iRedify is a Black-owned digital platform that showcases Black and Brown cultures and people. The books on the platform are written by African-American authors, Afro-Caribbean authors, African authors, and so much more. Kids 14 and under can read ebooks, listen to audiobooks, and complete learning activities. Kids can even write in the books digitally. Get unlimited access to everything on the platform for only $8.99 a month at iRedify.com. Sign up for your membership today.
A number of different topics here on the African History Network show. We do recurring events and history and much, much more. We're going to give you an update on what's going on. This is about self-preservation. We have to extinguish the fire of white supremacy. See, elections have consequences.
Catch it all right here on 910 AM Superstation. The views and opinions expressed on any program are those of the producers and or the persons appearing on the program and do not necessarily reflect the views and opinions of 910 AM Superstation or Adele Media.
Welcome back to the African History Network show right here on 910 AM Superstation, the Future Radio. I'm your host, Brother Michael Imhotep. It is Sunday, July 10th, 2022, and we are live. Calling numbers 313-778-7600, 313-778-7600 is the call-in number if you have a question or comment. We'll go to the phone lines in a few minutes here. I'm going to finish this clip. This is an interview that Joanne Reed did with Deborah Watts. Deborah Watts is a cousin of Emmett Till. When we go back to the phone lines, we'll go to Willie. So Willie, hold the line. Once again, the call-in number is 313-778-7600. Okay, I want to let you know, those in the Detroit area know that Sunday, July 17th, I'll be at Chandler Park. Okay, there's a family fun day part 2 taking place Sunday, July 17th, 2022, 1 p.m. to 6 p.m. This is free and open to the public, free and open to families at Shed Number 1. This is a pop-up shop. They're going to have free things there. It's a good family environment. We're going to put this on our website, TheAHNShow.com, TheAHNShow.com, so you can get more information. You'll be able to visit the vendor booth of the African History Network. I'll be there. I'll have my DVD lectures. You can come talk to me. We'll be registering people also for the online history classes that I teach. And Chandler Park Drive, Detroit, 12801 Chandler Park Drive, Detroit. Okay. This is organized by Boss Legacy, Family Fun Day, Part 2, 2022, July 17th, 2022. Okay. All right. So we'll put that information at our website, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com. All right. I want to go back to this interview here from June 30th, 2022. This is from the Readout with Joanne Reed. She's speaking to Deborah Watts, who's a cousin of Emmett Till. Let's go back to this clip, please, Jalen.
We want justice served. And so we were just excited, ecstatic, happy, very emotional at the time when we found it in the lower level of the LaFleur County courthouse area in the business there.
And Carolyn Bryant Donham, she, the book, The Blood of Emmett Till, which brought a lot of people, younger people, to this story that only knew about it from, history class if it's illegal to teach in their state. in that book, Carolyn Bryant Donham, she actually gave an interview to that author, and then she took back her previous admissions that she lied about your cousin, about Emmett Till. Do you want her arrested?
Pause it right there, Jalen. Pause it right there.
Pause it right there.
Pause it right there. Back that up about 20, 30 seconds. That is false. Carolyn Bryant Donham has not recanted her testimony. And when after this, see, I don't know who prepped Joanne Reed for that segment. That is blatantly false. I know what the headline said. I reported on this back in 2017 when that information came out. When you go through and read all those articles, there's no evidence she recanted her testimony. This is why the Department of Justice had to close their investigation. See, I actually read the 16-page report that the Department of Justice released explaining why they had to close the investigation. Go back to the clip, please.
Area in the booth there.
Carolyn Bryant Donham, she, the book "The Blood of Emmett Till," which brought a lot of people, younger people, to this story that only knew about it from history class if it's illegal to teach in their state. That in that book, Carolyn Bryant Donham, she actually gave an interview to that author, and then she took back her previous admissions that she lied about your cousin, about Emmett Till. Do you want her arrested and put under oath to get her to, under oath, say what she did?
Well, we think the evidence speaks for itself, and we think that the sheriff needs to serve that warrant to Carolyn Bryant. The DA needs to impanel a grand jury, and then they need to bring Carolyn in to be a part of that and indict her being culpable in the murder and, first of all, the kidnapping of Emmett Lewis Till.
Absolutely.
But Carolyn definitely was there. I mean, the FBI investigation and other reports and the admission by Dale Schillinger, who was the FBI investigator at the time, he received an admission from that two other young men had been brought to her to identify them. And of course, we know what happened with Emmett. Those two other young men were accosted. They were thrown out, beat up. Some of them were beat up. But Emmett, what happened to Emmett? He was kidnapped and murdered later. So there had to be an identification. Carolyn Bryant could be the only person that would do that. And in fact, in the documents that we found, there was an affidavit for her arrest as well. Also, the address of Mose Wright, who identified her. He had right. So they talked to him, and this kidnapping took place, of course, Joy, before the murder. So justice needs to be served. It's time, and Carolyn needs to be brought to justice.
I just want to very quickly, before we run out of time, ask you, I mean, you were at 6, 7 years old when your cousin was murdered. How did, his murder and this historic funeral that Mamie Till opened the casket so that the world would have to see the results of it? Were you at that funeral? How did his death impact your family?
I was not at the funeral. I was actually a toddler at the time, not quite 6, 7 years of age, but I heard about it. When Mamie Till Mobley traveled across the country to speak out along with the NAACP, she came to my hometown, Omaha, Nebraska, and I was able to see a booklet that was created by a photojournalist, Ernest Withers, who identified and photographed, I should say, the trial and that famous photo of Mose Wright pointing at the two murderers. And so I was able to see that and connect the tears, the emotions with Mamie's visit. And see, even as a toddler, I was able to become emotional about it. But later in years, Mamie Till Mobley is my shero. And we oftentimes had conversations about what happened, who was responsible, and what kind of justice she wanted.
Yeah.
She did not want, she did not, I would say this, she didn't want to have any type of hate towards Carolyn Bryant or vengeance, and we hold that in our hearts as well. We just want justice served, just as we wanted, just as we wanted it as well.
Indeed. Deborah Watts, it's such an honor to talk to you. Thank you so much, and the best to your family, and we wish you very much luck in pursuing this case. Thank you, Deborah Watts.
Okay, pause right there. Thanks, Jalen. Okay, that was from June 30th, 2022. That is from the readout with Joanne Reed. Good interview, except for that inaccurate information that Joy disseminated that came from headlines But when you actually dig deeper into that, it's false. Carolyn Bryant must be indicted for role in murder, kidnapping of Emmett Till, his cousin says, June 30th, 2022. The readout, that's at msnbc.com. You can watch that clip in its entirety. Now, let's go to, now back in April of April 2022, we know the Detroit News had the article, Emmett Till's relatives want the woman who accused him prosecuted for 1955 kidnapping. Also, Yahoo News, by any means, Emmett Till's family calls on authorities to use 1995 kidnapping warrant. Should be 1955. They have a typo in their headline. 1955 kidnapping warrant to apprehend woman who was wrongly accused Chicago teens. So these are articles we reported on this back when this happened. This is Detroit Free Press, an article from the Detroit Free Press, along with my notations as well. Now let's look at this here. Now this is when this came out. I talked about this December 6, 2021. Emmett Till notice to close file. This is the 16-page report from the Department of Justice explaining why they had to close the file on Emmett Till. They kept running into dead ends when they go in. All these claims floating around in the media and all this stuff. It's easy to say things on shows. It's easy to say things in a book. When you go to court, the burden of proof is on the prosecution. You have to be able to prove your case based upon the evidence. As Denzel Washington told E! Training Day, it's not what you believe, it's what you can prove. That's what this is. Now, go back when this came out in December 21, we went through this here on this show. Go read this. This is from the Department of Justice, justice.gov, official website of the Department of Justice. Emmett Till, notice to close file. This is a 16-page report that goes through and breaks down their investigation, what they investigated, all the leads they went through, and what they found, okay, and why they had to close the investigation. I'm going to focus on pages 4 and 5, section D, for the sake of time, because this is only a 2-hour show. Okay, section D starts on, that's A. Okay, should be page 5. Section, let's scroll down here. Yeah, section D starts on page 4. Pages 4 and 5. That's what we're going to focus on. You can read this whole thing in its entirety, but I'm going to focus on section 4 and 5. Okay. Section 4 and 5, starting with section D. They talk about, in section C, they talk about the 2004 federal investigation as well. We broke all this down here on the show when this report came out. Section D, Timothy Tyson's claim, Professor Timothy Tyson, who wrote the book, The Blood of Emmett Till. And when this revelation came out in 2017, we dealt with this here on the African History Network show, and I had a whole lot of questions in that still haven't been answered. Timothy Tyson's claim that Carolyn Bryant Donham recanted her testimony. Okay, now, let's go to this here. Let me increase the size of this. All right. No additional investigations were taken by the federal or state government in the next decade. Then, shortly before the publication of his book, The Blood of Emmett Till, Timothy Tyson, who's a professor, Professor Timothy Tyson, revealed to several media outlets that Carolyn Bryant Donham had, during an interview with him nearly a decade earlier, recanted the account that she had provided under oath during a hearing at the trial of Roy Bryant and J.W. Miller. Now, just keep in mind, people are saying, oh, bring up a perjury charge. Keep in mind, perjury charges are between 5 to 7 years after they are committed, after perjury is committed. The trial was in 1955. It's past the statute of limitations for the trial. If she gave false statements to the FBI during their investigations, the statute of limitations, I think, is 7 years for that. You can bring up charges on that, but once again, you have to prove it based upon evidence, especially when you go to court. It's based upon evidence. It's not what people say on TV shows. It's based upon the evidence. Now, Professor Timothy Tyson's account suggested that Carolyn Bryant Donham lied in court in 1955 and lied to the FBI, which would be a crime if you can prove it, and lied to the FBI. Let's go back to this. Timothy Tyson's account suggested that Carolyn Bryant lied in court and lied during the FBI's 2004 investigation. Okay, now the statute of limitations for the 2004 investigation have expired. It's basically 7 years. That'd be 2011. The investigation that the FBI just closed in 2021, that's still within the statute of limitations. That's still, so if you can prove that she lied in the statements that she gave to the FBI, well, then that's grounds for prosecution. But once again, you have to prove it based upon evidence. And, you know, one of the problems is all the witnesses are dead. Specifically, Professor Timothy Tyson stated that Carolyn Bryant Donham admitted that her representation that Emmett Till had made verbal and physical advances toward her, in the store was, quote unquote, not true. The FBI went through, they investigated all this. Now, in the book, in Professor Timothy Tyson's book, which was published the following month in 2017, Professor Timothy Tyson wrote that Carolyn Bryant Donham said, quote, I have thought about everything Emmett Till, the killing and the trial, telling who did what to who. And then she murmured, quote, they're all dead now anyway, according to Timothy Tyson's account. They're all dead now anyway. He wrote that while, quote, trying hard to distinguish fact from remembrance, Carolyn Bryant Donham revealed a story different from what he thought he knew about the incident. Specifically, he represented that Carolyn Bryant Donham handed him a transcript of her sworn testimony and claimed that part's not true. What part's not true? When you go through and read those articles, they quote this part. She said that part's not true, according to Timothy Tyson. He doesn't say what part is not true. We're going to continue this on the other side of the break, get deeper into the actual report from the Department of Justice that goes through and investigates all this stuff circulating in the media, things like this. Now, this was before the arrest warrant surfaced. Okay, but they go through and they show why they had to close this investigation. You listen to the African History Network show right here on 910 AM Superstation Future Radio. I'm Michael Imhotep. We'll be back in a few minutes.
STEM Forward, helping our community find their place in the emerging fields of science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. Join us for our monthly live stream on our website, stemforwardedu.org. Watch, subscribe, share. Also join our mailing list to stay up to date with STEM resources and opportunities. STEM Forward, the future is now. Watch, subscribe, share.
IDO Network International, in collaboration with STL Black Woman, DACA, and ACTA, present the Royal Pilgrimage to the Americas, August 24th through the 28th. The African kings and queens are coming to you for business, networking, and sharing of Pan-African ideals. The venue will be the illustrious En Garde Arts Hotel in St. Louis, Missouri. A royal cultural experience and exhibitions, trade and investment opportunities in Africa, the Caribbean, and the Americas. A Royal Pan-African Summit hosting keynote speakers, and a red carpet banquet. Come and witness an African royal coronation ceremony. Register at www.idonetwork.org to book your ticket to wine and dine with African royalty. Vendor opportunities available. Get face-to-face with the royals who own the land and resources for business. Contact DACA for deal room information at 602-730-4572.
Welcome back to the African History Network show right here on 910 AM Superstation Future Radio. I'm your host, Brother Michael Imhotep. It is Sunday, July 10th, 2022. Calling numbers 313-778-7600. 313-778-7600 is the calling number if you have a question or comment. I'm going to get through some more of this actual report from the Department of Justice dealing with their investigation into the allegations that Carolyn Bryant Donham recanted her testimony as told by Professor Timothy Tyson in his book, The Blood of Emmett Till. Then we're going to go to the phone lines. We'll go to Willie. Willie, hold the line, okay? And once again, it's important for us to read. In 2017, when this story came out, I read numerous articles on this, and I read statements by Professor Timothy Tyson, things like this. And I really wasn't convinced, because I'm like, okay, I'm reading the headline. She recanted her testimony. I'm looking at his statements, and I'm looking, okay, what evidence are you citing? There was one statement that he said in some of the articles had it. Oh, and when he did 2 interviews with her, he said she started spilling the beans before he could start recording. He said she was spilling the beans right away. What did she say? Provide your evidence. Because this is what the FBI said. And the FBI said, you gave us 1 recording. You said you had 2. You gave us 1 recording. Professor Timothy Tyson's explanation of what happened to the second recording kept changing. His explanation of, did she actually confess to recanting testimony? His explanation kept changing on that too. Emmett Till noticed to close file. Do I want her brought to justice? Absolutely. But when you go to court, the burden of proof is on the prosecution. Saying the witch lied is not evidence. And her defense attorney will destroy Professor Timothy Tyson on cross-examination. This is from Monday, December 6, 2021. Okay. And this starts out, it talks about the fact that, and I'm going to information I'm sharing is on page 4. Okay. Page 4 starts section D. That's, to me, the most important stuff here. They go through, and on page 2, when they go through and look at this, it starts, I want to start with the paragraph in early 2017. Okay, so formally this case, okay, next one right here. This is page 2. In early 2017, new information emerged suggesting that Carolyn Bryant Donham recanted her claims that Emmett Till had assaulted and propositioned her in the store. Timothy Tyson, a university professor who had written a book, The Blood of Emmett Till, alleged during a book promotion tour that Carolyn Bryant Donham had during an interview with him nearly a decade earlier. Why'd you wait so long to say something? Nearly a decade earlier, in 2008, recanted the account that she had provided under oath in proceedings related to Roy Bryant and J.W. Millam's trial. Okay. Once Professor Timothy Tyson, once Tyson's assertion about the recantation was made public, members of Emmett Till's family, state and federal public officials, advocacy groups, journalists, and other interested parties requested an investigation into, and if possible, prosecution of Carolyn Bryant Donham. Now, shortly after the books, so this stuff came out, they said, can you look into this? Can you investigate this? The Department of Justice opened up an investigation. When they open up an investigation, they're going to investigate. They interviewed a bunch of people, all these claims. They interviewed Carolyn Bryant Donham and her daughter-in-law, because her daughter-in-law was present for both of the interviews. Shortly after the book's publication, The Blood of Emmett Till, in 2017, attorneys in the Department of Justice's Civil Rights Division, the United States Attorney's Office for the Northern District of Mississippi, and the Mississippi District Attorney's Office, 4th District, reopened prior investigations to examine the truthfulness of Professor Timothy Tyson's claim and re-examine the earlier decision to close the case without prosecution, because there was a 2004 investigation. That 2004 investigation was closed. So they're going back looking at the 2004 investigation as well. Specifically, the Department of Justice reviewed its previous determination concerning Carolyn Bryant Donham's culpability in Emmett Till's abduction and murder, and also considered whether new information coming from Professor Timothy Tyson suggested that any other living person complicit in Emmett Till's murder could be identified and potentially prosecuted. Are there any other witnesses we don't know about? Because when you go to court, You're going to need witnesses. You're going to need evidence. You're going to need evidence that will withstand cross-examination by a defense team. The FBI's investigation, although no longer active in 2017, had never been officially closed. For the reasons set forth below, the Department of Justice has concluded, after an exhaustive multi-year review, that it cannot prosecute Carolyn Bryant Donham or any other subjects so there was one and then two, for any federal offense. The department has not uncovered any new evidence that would change its conclusion from its 2004 investigation that it was not able to bring federal charges against Carolyn Bryant Donham in connection with Emmett Till's abduction and murder. Moreover, and as explained more fully below, go read this full 16-page report, because I've read it and we dealt with this on this show back when this came out in December 2021. Moreover, and as explained more fully below, the statute of limitations, which is essentially a deadline for charging someone with a crime, has run on all potential federal crimes that could apply to Emmett Till's abduction and murder, and there is no other potential basis for jurisdiction. Now, I checked Mississippi state law. There is no statute of limitations for kidnapping. There is no limitations for kidnapping, as well as federal law. There is no statute of limitations for kidnapping as well. So the arrest warrant is still valid because there's no statute of limitations when it comes to kidnapping in Mississippi or federal, but you're going to need more evidence, and where your witnesses. Additionally, the department cannot prosecute Carolyn Bryant Donham either for perjury, which is lying while under oath in relation to the 1955 state trial in Mississippi, or for previously making false statements to federal investigators. The statute of limitations has run for any charges, state or federal, as I already said, for lying under oath. It's usually between 5 to 7 years. And for any charges that could be based on false statements Carolyn Bryant Donham made to federal investigators during the 2004 investigation, because the statute of limitations ran out for the 2004 investigation. Finally, the Department of Justice cannot charge Carolyn Bryant Donham for making false statements during the current investigation. Donham was re-interviewed in 2017, at which time she denied having ever recanted her court testimony. So you got to prove in court that she recanted her testimony, and you need evidence. The department thus considered whether it could charge her with making false statements in relation to the current investigation, the one they just closed in December 2021. But to prosecute for making a false statement to federal investigators, the government would have to prove beyond a reasonable doubt to a jury, based upon the evidence, not what's in the headline, but based upon the evidence, the government would have to prove that she intentionally lied when she told FBI agents that she never recanted her prior statements. She'd have to prove. She maintained she never recanted her prior statements. Her daughter-in-law that was present for the 2 interviews that Timothy Tyson did, her daughter-in-law was interviewed in this investigation. She says she never recanted her statements. The burden of proof is on the prosecution, so you have to prove she did. Timothy Tyson said he lost the audio recording of the recantation. He said he had 2 audio recordings. He said, and the FBI said, you gave us one. There's no recantation on this audio recording. He said he lost the second one. Let me get this straight. You are interviewing her for a book. You do 2 audio recordings and you don't back your stuff up on external hard drives? I have 7 external hard drives to back this work up that I do. You didn't back this stuff up on external hard drives? That doesn't sound right. We'll deal with this on the other side of the break, and we'll go to the phone lines as well. You listen to the African History Network show. I'm Michael Imhotep. We'll be back in a few minutes.
Yeah, we do. A number of different topics here on the TheAHNShow Network Show. We do current events of history and so much, much more. We're going to give you an update on what's going on. This is about self-preservation. We have to extinguish the fire of white supremacy to let us have consequences.
Catch it all right here on 910 AM Superstation.
Welcome back to the African History Network Show right here on 910 AM the Superstation, Future Radio. I'm your host, Brother Michael Imhotep. It is. Are we still supposed to say that tagline in Future Radio? I've been on the air on 910 for 6 years. So, I mean, I'm trying to figure out. I remember when they said 910 is on fleek. I'm like, what the hell is this? But anyway, Jalen, send me a text message. Is the tagline still the Future Radio? Let me know what the tagline is. I don't remember, man. Back to the Future, whatever. I don't know. But anyway. Man, come on, man. I started on Steve Hood's show in the mornings, Thursday mornings. It was on 7 a.m. to 9 a.m. So calling numbers 313-778-7600, 313-778-7600 is the calling number. It's Sunday, July 10th, 2022, and we're on live. First time we've been on live in the I think our last live broadcast was June 12th. I was extremely busy for Juneteenth, so I couldn't do the show, and the station was shut down last weekend for the 4th of July, as well. That's what Dr. Shaka Musa Shango called it, who wrote the book African People and European Holidays and Mental Genocide. He called it the 4th of July. The other people call it the 4th of July. These two books here, book 1 and book 2, African People and European Holidays and Mental Genocide, but Dr. Shaka Musa Shango, which deals with the history of these various European holidays we've been taught to celebrate. You can celebrate them if you want to, but you should at least know the history behind what it is that you're celebrating. Because if you understand the history behind what it is that you're celebrating, it will probably change. If you decide to keep celebrating these European holidays, it will probably change how you engage in them, how you celebrate them. Okay. All right. So right before the break, we were going through breaking this down once again, as we did in December when I was on 6 days a week. And now, once you keep in mind, we're just doing our show Sundays, 9 p.m. to 11 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, because it was a financial strain for me to do the show 6 days a week. It's a lot of work and a lot of research, things like this, and I just can't do it. So we're back to just doing Sundays, 9 p.m. to 11 p.m. If you follow us on our Facebook fan page, The African History Network, and our YouTube channel, Michael Imhotep, I'll be doing some broadcasts during the day, during the week as well. But doing radio 11 p.m. at night is causing me to stay up late, get to bed late, get up late the next morning, things like that. So we're just back to once a week. Well, we appreciate the opportunity, though, from 9, 10 a.m. WFDF. Okay, back to this here, and then we're going to Willie on the phone lines. This is page 2. We're still on page 2 now. I think we're back. I think it's on page 3 of the Department of Justice investigation. Okay, so finally, the department cannot charge Carolyn Bryant Donham for making false statements during the current investigation. That's the bottom of page 2, last paragraph. Okay, but to prosecute Carolyn Bryant Donham for making a false statement to federal investigators, the government would have to prove in court, not in the media, in court, beyond a reasonable doubt, based upon the evidence, that she intentionally lied when she told FBI agents that she never recanted her prior statements. You have to prove it based upon evidence. This necessarily means that the government would have to prove beyond a reasonable doubt, try to tell you, beyond a reasonable doubt, that when Carolyn Bryant Donham talked to Professor Timothy Tyson, she did, in fact, recant testimony from the state proceedings. As explained more fully below, the alleged recantation is not well documented. This is what I'm trying to see. This is different. When they do their investigation, this is different than articles being written. This is different than Joanne Reed saying what she wants to say on her show. When they actually go investigate and interview people and look at the evidence, it's something entirely different. As explained more fully below, the alleged recantation is not well documented, and Professor Timothy Tyson's own account of the recantation cannot be independently corroborated. This would prevent the government from proving beyond a reasonable doubt that Carolyn Bryant Donham recanted her testimony when she spoke to Professor Timothy Tyson over a decade ago, and consequently that she lied to FBI agents when she denied having done so. When you go to court, it's a different story. Okay, so that's on page 2 and 3. Now, we were talking on page 4, section D, Timothy Tyson's claim that Carolyn Bryant Donham recanted her testimony. Section D starts on page 4. We were dealing with that, and we were continuing on page 5 with section 4, current FBI investigation. I want to go to the phone lines. I want to go to Willie, who's been holding. Willie, welcome to the African History Network show. Tell us where you're calling from, Willie. Thanks for holding.
Hey, Mr. Imhotep, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Go ahead.
Oh, okay. Hey, good Sunday night. I'm calling you from Detroit.
Detroit, okay.
Hey, glad you're back on the air again.
Yep, thanks.
Oh, Carolyn Bryant Donham.
Mm-hmm.
I got the name correct. Let me start by saying this. You know, there was a couple of passages in the scriptures that came to mind when you first began to speak on this subject tonight, and one is that I can't tell you where they're found, but one goes, be sure your sins will find you out. Mm-hmm. There's another passage that says that God will not acquit God will not acquit the wicked. And thought about a news story I heard on the news that ties into this in a sense. Mm-hmm. There was a Nazi war criminal, 101 years old. Mm-hmm. He's so old, he's wheelchair bound.
Right.
Well, you know, they showed him in the wheelchair during the court hearing. He's going to have to spend the rest of his time in jail.
Right. I saw they took him out on a stretcher. One of them I saw they took out on a stretcher. Yep.
Well, I think that was a different case. This was a case where this guy was in a wheel. It may have been the same. This guy was in a wheelchair. Mm-hmm. And my point is that, that horrible excuse for a human being, I'm referring to Miss Carolyn Bryant Donham, deserves no less.
Right. Now they put him on trial in Germany, right? Was that in the U.S. or Germany? They put him on trial.
I think that was overseas.
Yeah, that was overseas. That's in Germany. Probably in Germany. Yeah. Okay. You're dealing with a different legal system. Number one, but two, they probably had evidence.
Okay.
See that's different. You do if it's overseas, you're dealing with a different legal system, different standard, but also they probably had evidence to prove that he was involved in killing Jews and others, the Romanians, things like this. They had evidence. Okay. Go ahead quickly because we're up against a break. Go ahead quickly.
Okay, but what I was saying, though, the fact of it is, this man and Miss Bryant both are elderly, and whatever, and their crimes, their sins from the past have finally caught up with them. That's the point that I'm making.
Right. Okay.
So. Okay.
All right, Willie.
Hey, good that you're back on there.
All right. Thanks for calling. Good information. Thanks for calling, Willie. Okay. All right. Now, very quickly here because we were almost out of time. Okay, this is section D. This is page, I think we're page 4. The current investigation was designed to identify evidence corroborating author Timothy Tyson's claim that Carolyn Bryant Donham recanted her 1955 testimony, and where there was additional evidence identifying 1, previously unknown information of Carolyn Bryant Donham having been complicit in Emmett Till's abduction and murder, 2, any previously unknown living subject, and 3, a basis to support any other federal or state charges. And re-examining these issues. Now, keep in mind, this investigation was closed before we found out that there was the arrest warrant from August 29th, 1955, and before the arrest warrant was found. Okay, because we got the news in April of 2022 about this arrest warrant that was never served. In re-examining arrest warrant for kidnapping for Carolyn Bryant Donham that was never served. In re-examining these issues, the FBI interviewed Carolyn Bryant Donham, Timothy Tyson, and persons close to or associated with them. In addition, the government also re-interviewed the last of, I'm not sure, I think that may have been Emmett Till's cousin, the last surviving member of the group of young men who accompanied Emmett Till to the grocery store. grocery and meat market, and who was present when Emmett Till was abducted from his relative's home. I think that was Simeon Wright. The FBI also obtained and reviewed other relevant documents, conducted forensic computer analysis, and consulted with case agents familiar with the earlier investigation. The FBI quickly identified a significant obstacle in this investigation. Professor Timothy Tyson conducted 2 separate interviews with Donham and recorded and transcribed both. However, the key statements that Carolyn Bryant Donham reportedly made to him, recanting her previous testimony, were neither recorded nor transcribed. So the smoking gun evidence that Professor Timothy Tyson said he had, there's no evidence of the smoking gun evidence. The key statements, because the FBI went and investigated all this. Okay, these are the claims in the media. These are the claims floating around. We're going to investigate this. The statements that Carolyn Bryant Donham reportedly made to Professor Timothy Tyson, recanting his previous testimony, her previous testimony, were neither recorded nor transcribed. The FBI learned that Professor Timothy Tyson had lost one of the recordings. You didn't back this stuff up on external hard drives. I have 7 external hard drives to back up the work that I do. You didn't back this stuff up. Didn't Juvenile tell you back that thing up? You didn't back up your recordings on external hard drives. Okay. The FBI learned that Professor Timothy Tyson had lost one of the recordings, the one during which Carolyn Bryant Donham reportedly recanted her earlier statements and sworn testimony. Moreover, Professor Timothy Tyson, now this is extremely important, because her defense attorneys would destroy Professor Timothy Tyson on cross-examination on the witness stand in a trial. Professor Timothy Tyson gave inconsistent explanations of whether there had ever been a recording of the admission, and if not, why none had been made. What were the headlines on this? Yes, we want her brought to justice, but you got to have evidence in court. You have to have evidence. Professor Timothy Tyson also gave differing accounts as to when Carolyn Bryant Donham made the recantation, and Professor Timothy Tyson told investigators that although Carolyn Bryant Donham did not specifically identify any part of her testimony as untrue, he understood from the context of their conversation that she was referring to her allegation that Emmett Till had physically accosted her in the store, and that this connection was recorded in his written notes. Timothy Tyson's notes, however, do not include such a connection. Go on to court with that. We'll be back. You listen to the African History Network show. I'm Michael Imhotep. We'll be back in a few minutes. Welcome back to the African History Network show right here on 910 a.m. Superstation, the Future Radio. Okay, Jalen, I want to go to clip 2. This is from Roland Martin Unfiltered. I was on Roland. I'm a panelist each Friday on Roland Martin Unfiltered. I was on Friday, July 8th, and we were dealing with President Joe Biden's executive order dealing with dealing with the Supreme Court decision to strike down Roe versus Wade, and his executive order protecting women's reproductive rights. Okay, so I just sent you a clip also, which is going to be clip 3, Jalen. We're going to go to clip number 2 from Roland Martin Unfiltered, and then I want to go to clip 3 as well, because that's when he comes to me, because we're running out of time here. Okay, so let's go to clip number 2 from Roland Martin Unfiltered, Jalen.
All right, folks, today President Joe Biden signed an executive order to protect abortion rights for Americans. 2 weeks ago, the Supreme Court ended a woman's constitutional right to make her decisions about her body. Biden's order calls for the Department of Health and Human Services to submit a status report and create an interagency committee on abortion. It also expands access to contraception, provides free legal representation for abortion providers and those seeking abortions, and has additional protections for reproductive health care data. Now, the president urged Americans to get out and vote to prevent their rights from being taken away.
It's about a deep, long-seating antipathy toward Roe and the broader right to privacy. As the justice wrote in their dissent, and I quote, "The majority has overruled Roe and Casey for one and only one reason, because it has always despised them, and now it has the votes to discard them," end of quote. So what we're witnessing wasn't a constitutional judgment. It was an exercise in raw political power. On the day the Dobbs decision came down, I immediately announced what I would do, but I also made it clear, based on the reasoning of the court, there is no constitutional right to choose. The only way to fulfill and restore that right for women in this country is by voting, by exercising the power at the ballot box. Let me explain. We need 2 additional pro-choice senators and a pro-choice House to codify Roe as federal law. Your vote can make that a reality. I know it's frustrating, and it made a lot of people very angry, but the truth is this, and it's not just me saying it, it's what the court said. When you read the decision, the court has made clear it will not protect the rights of women, period.
All right, folks, let's talk about this with our panel. Kelly Bethea, communications strategist, Michael Imhotep, host, the African History Network show, Matt Manning, civil rights attorney.
Okay, hey, Jalen, do me a favor. Go to clip 3. Jalen, go to clip 3 and start that at the 5:46 mark, okay? Clip 3.
Here's what I find to be laughable, Michael. Again, this is the letter from Texas, from the Texas Freedom Caucus. They actually said, to the extent that Sitley is facilitating abortions performed in violation of Article 4512.1, it is exposing itself and each of its partners to felony criminal prosecution and disbarment. The letter also details proposed legislation to be introduced in Texas that will impose additional civil and criminal sanctions on law firms that pay for abortions or abortion travel. The Freedom Caucus would like to impose felony criminal sanctions on anyone paying for an abortion, allow private citizens to sue over it, a la SB 8, and any lawyer who furnishes the means for procuring an abortion knowing the purpose intended will face disbarment. Now, here's what's pretty stupid about this, Michael. First of all, Texas law does not travel across state lines. Right. That's first.
Right.
You can't say, oh, if you did pay for it in Texas, but it happened elsewhere, then the law applies to you. No, it doesn't. You're only able to govern what happens in your state. But I need people watching and listening to understand that this is the extent that these Republicans are going to trying to go to threaten Americans for making their choices. That's what we're talking about here.
Yeah, Roland, you know, this is so crazy because when it came to being able to not wear masks, they wanted freedom, okay? When it comes to Second Amendment rights, they want freedom. But when it comes to women having autonomy over their body, all of a sudden now they don't want freedom, okay? So this is what Biden is dealing with. The executive order was good. It came within 2 weeks of the ruling from the U.S. Supreme Court. I know that people say that there's more that can be done, things like this, but when it comes to doing abortions on federal property, okay, well, if that takes place within Texas, then you're still dealing with all these lawsuits and you're still dealing with this legal backlash because it took place in Texas. I know it's on federal property. So, you know, there may be another portion possibly of an executive order coming. This is a good first step, but it has to be codified by Congress. It has to be codified by Congress, which is why it's important. It was important for him today to drive home the point again that you need at least 2 more Democratic senators, and not Democrats like Joe Manchin, but the right type of Democrats who will vote to codify Roe versus Wade. And I would say you need more than 2, because as you've talked about here on this show before, Roland, you have some Democratic senators in states that have Republican governors. If something happens to one of them, that Republican governor can replace them with a Republican senator and tilt the balance of the Senate. So this is high stakes grandmaster level chess that we're dealing with. So this is extremely important, but this is a good first step.
Melanie Campbell, Black Women's Roundtable, your assessment of this executive order signed by President Biden today, does it go far enough?
Oh, I think it's what he can do from the pulpit of the White House, from the executive branch. Truly, what we have to have is a legislative remedy that's going to be systemic. Can he do more? Yes, I think that they'll continue to push it. I think it's very important that he stated that it was important that folks also vote and try to do what they use the power of the vote, even in the midst of the challenges we face, of course, with this election cycle, because we won't be able to codify Roe v. Wade without Congress acting. And the Senate is up, the House is up, and as well as many states. And even as you try to figure out how to roll this back, there are so many governor's races and state legislative races that are also up this year. So I think it's really important. I think also what was important is that they were going to use the Department of Justice that would try to protect people who may end up being charged for driving across state lines. Some of those very nuanced things. The sisters that I work with and support, like Sister Song and others, really talk about the concern about the criminalization of women as they seek reproductive health care services when they're in states. So I think that's going to be really important as we work to fight the political battle. We also worry to make sure we protect folks from being over-criminalized.
What we're now, one of the things, Melanie, that Biden said is that Republicans greatly underestimate the power of women. He believes that this Supreme Court decision is going to be a boon for Democrats, and it is going to really hurt Republicans in November. Agree, disagree?
I think I partially agree. I think that there's nuances to that for Black women. There are other really critical issues that impact us, but generally, I think younger women along lines of age, when you're looking at women who are in their reproductive years, having that concern and waking up to it. One of the things that happened a lot when we were in New Orleans for Essence Festival weekend, the kinds of conversations we were having, there was a sense of urgency by younger women who were trying to figure out, now this is really happening, my rights are being taken away, just trying to figure out what to do and how can what is it that we can do to fight back. And so I think that, so I heard a lot of that over the course of the weekend, the issue around our rights and freedoms, whether we're talking about voting rights or reproductive rights. I think the connection to understand that all of our rights and freedoms are under attack or in a situation where they're going to continue to erode rights and freedoms for all of us. And so I think that it will have a role. I think it was seismic. It was such a major shift in rolling back, just like we were out there in the streets a year ago and continue to fight, of course, around voting rights. I think the timing of it is on people's minds when people would normally be thinking about just going to the beach, quite frankly. They're worried about whether or not if something happens, I need to get an abortion, or I may be in a hospital, or I may have to have those kind of reproductive services to save my life or a family member's life. So it's out there in the ecosystem, and the folks that are showing up, the very first day, Deborah Scott with Georgia Stand Up, who we partnered with around Black Women's Roundtable, within that hour of that decision, her young people who are interns for her for the summer said, we want to go out here and do something. So they were out there in front of the Georgia State House protesting. So when you think about the response, I think it will have an effect.
That really is the fundamental question, Kelly. You hear Biden talking about vote, vote, vote. We know 53% of white women voted for Donald Trump in 2016. They came out to support him again in 2020. And so if that's the case, was Biden saying correct? Because the reality is the largest group of voters in America are white voters.
I still feel like Biden, in a way, is in this, USA Wonderland where everything is kind of sort of off balance right now, that it'll get better. Meanwhile, the rest of America is like, no, this is what it is right now. I won't have any faith until I see the votes come in. Like, I feel like I learned my lesson after Trump got elected, not to trust in polls, not to trust in much of any type of analysis thus far that says anything outside of, you know, the nitty gritty being, you know, white supremacy is ruling the white people right now. I don't know. Like, I wish that he would get on board with, you know, just kind of not being as bipartisan as he is and just getting done what needs to be done. But like I said, we'll see.
Look, Matt, bottom line is this here. White women are going to vote like the way they did in 2016, 2020. Me personally, I don't all of a sudden see these white Republican women going, oh my goodness, this is going to be our most fundamental issue. I don't think so. Now, independent women, that could be the case. So the reality, what I keep saying is you're going to have to see Black and Latino and Asian turnout at a much higher rate. But when it comes to Latinas, you got to factor in the stronghold of the Catholic Church when it comes to their perspective on abortion.
I think that's correct, Roland, but I think what remains to be seen is the effect of all of the single issue voters who voted Republican for so long because they were so incensed or otherwise energized around abortion. I do wonder what the aggregate effect of that will be. But to your point, obviously, we need more people voting, non-white people voting in mass to make sure that the correct things happen going forward. And one thing I wanted to add that I didn't mention before is I do think that Mr. Biden has a good opportunity to test the bounds of federalism here, because the real fallout of Roe v. Wade is it goes back to the states, right? And you have a patchwork of state policy. So I think one of the things that the federal government can do here is really push those bounds of federalism, because I think Michael alluded to the point earlier, you know, if something were happening on federal land in the state of Texas might try to fight it, but I don't think that the state of Texas would have supremacy over that federal action. So I think that is one place that they can continue to build on not only these protections, but maybe affording the actual right to people despite it being taken away via this new ruling.
Michael.
Yeah, Roland, you know, Biden got 81 million votes 2020. 61% of his votes came from white people. That was 49 million votes. 20% came from African Americans. That was 16.9 million votes. The intensity right now, and it's going to continue, I think, as we hear, just like there was a story today that MSNBC ran dealing with how one of the drugs that's used to treat cancer is also used to treat for women use it when they've had miscarriages, and how this can be also a drug that gets banned. This is the next step of this. It's not going to stop here, okay? So if you look out in the streets, people are not marching in the streets because of inflation. They're not marching in the streets because of high gas prices. But women are marching in the streets of different races, are marching in the streets because their constitutional right to safe abortions has been taken away. So I think this is different in some respects to 2020, because now you're actually dealing with the Supreme Court ruling and taking away a constitutional right they've had for 50 years, as opposed to in 2020 or 2016, they were saying it could happen. Okay, so I think I'm not saying all white women are going to vote for Biden. That's not what I'm saying. But I think the game has changed here. And this is an opportunity for Democrats and others who see this as wrong to galvanize the support and actually turn this into votes for the right type of Democratic candidate.
Okay. All right. Everybody visit our new website, TheAHNShow.com, TheAfricanHistoryNetwork.com. Follow us on Facebook, The African History Network. Turn on live notifications so you know when we go live. And Michael Imhotep on YouTube. Turn on live notifications. Read this article here from NBC News. Biden signs executive order to protect abortion access. I'll be at Chandler Park Sunday, July 17th, 1 p.m. to 7 p.m. We'll have that information at our website, TheAfricanHistoryNetwork.com, where I will be. If you want me to do a presentation for your group or organization, email me at AHNShow at AfricanHistoryNetwork.com, AHNShow at AfricanHistoryNetwork.com, or TheAHNShow at gmail.com. We have the information at our website. Or call me 313-462-0003, 313-462-0003. We're out of time here on 910 AM Superstation WFDF. You can also support us, $ the AHN Show through Cash App and through PayPal, paypal.me/the AHN Show. We'll talk about The Woman King next week, and I'll do a broadcast this week as well about The Woman King movie with Viola Davis. Right now, it's correct wrong behavior. It's not over till we win. Wakanda forever.